Hi there. Welcome to the Right Here, Right Now live show. This show has one simple question. What's on your heart and mind right here, right now in this moment? We explore the depths and breadths of our humanity through that one simple question over the course of 30 to 45 minutes. I hope that you'll join us. I hope you'll enjoy the exploration. And this tune was created for me personally by the incredible Peter Griffiths, one half of the amazing Mind Takeaway. Do let us know what you think. Let us know what you take away. And of course, we always welcome challenges too. Hope to see you on the exploration. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. If you are watching us live, thanks for joining us. If you watch this back or listen to this back at some point, thanks for joining us in the conversation. Today, I'm really excited because it's very rare that I get to have an open-hearted exploration with either a current colleague or a previous colleague. And Eric Coenen, who is one of my previous colleagues within my corporate role, has been on quite a journey the last couple of years. I'm looking forward to bringing him on to have a wonderful in-the-moment exploration with Eric in a couple of minutes' time. Before I do that, I just want to remind you, if you're watching us or listening to this back, there will be the Human Development Space taking place again across the 20th and the 21st of July 2022 in the beautiful Dorset countryside. Over 150 acres of woodland, lakes and a beautiful country home. And it's really just a space to slow down, to connect to ourselves, to connect to people that we may not yet know, and really just use that space, excuse me, a space of emergence. So come into it with your ideas, come into it with your gifts, come into it with your open mind and open heart as to what you would like to reimagine. It's not a space where we're coming with fixed ideas or we've got to do these 12 steps of something within 48 hours. It really is a space to slow down, connect to yourself, those around you, and really just use the emergent space in whatever way is a benefit to you. So let's get on with the show. And I want to bring over my good friend, ex-colleague, Mr. Eric Coenen. How are you, sir?
Hey Gary, good morning. I'm doing fine, a little bit nervous because I've never been in a broadcast studio like this. So it was quite exciting to see this sentence when I entered. You are entering a broadcast studio, which feels exciting in a way. But nice to see how you're doing this in a rather professional way. From I think somewhere where you live. So it's really cool that these opportunities, these technical opportunities are there nowadays to meet in a way like this. Me in my home in Rijswijk in the Netherlands, and you in your safe space, I guess. Yeah. So thanks.
Oh no, it's beautiful, and yeah, thanks for pointing that out actually, because like we take it for granted a little bit, right? When you've got technology that we can do this, and it's it's exciting. It's very exciting. But to tell us, Eric, as we get going today, I've just popped your website up on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I see it.
give our viewers, our listeners, a little bit of a lowdown as to who is Eric and where are you at the moment, and then we'll go into an exploration after that. But I'd love for people to get to know a little bit about you this morning.
Right, so I'm 48 years now. I have a family, a wife, and my son Ruel, and actually two daughters of my wife. So they call it a bonus family, I think. I don't know if that's an English term as well, but you know that situation. So I was studying in university biotechnology a long time ago. I think 30 years ago, 92 I started. So biotechnology, so I actually learned a lot about DNA and microbiology. And then after that, I have been working for about 20 years in corporate industry, I think 4 or 5 different companies. And in the last 16 years, I was active in the chemical industry on the commercial side, but as a product specialist. So because of my background with microbiology, I have learned a lot in the last 16 years about biocides, which is actually chemical preservatives to keep shampoos and paints and glues from getting spoiled by microbes. So that's what I've been doing. 2.5 years ago, I chose to leave the corporate world because I was actually very close to entering a burnout situation. So I was in a very low point in my life, at least that's how it felt. And I made a decision which felt like leaving, which felt like failing. But so many people have told me that I was actually very courageous. So I have started to believe it, and that that new phase in my life since 2.5 years has brought me something completely different, which is that I'm now coaching people. I am a breathing coach, and some other activities which we perhaps talk about later on or not. But the coaching part and the breathing coaching is actually what I'm exploring now and growing and building in my own practice in the Netherlands. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing so vulnerably. Excuse me, Eric. That there was that, there's a trigger somehow. There's something within you that said, "Hey, there's got to be another path for me to look at."
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what people are talking about when you talk about courage, right? Is to allow yourself to feel that message somehow.
Yes, I think it is, and I think it's interesting, and that's part of what I would love to talk about today, is that the world around us, at least looking at people, is very often not what it seems like, because what people show is, at least in my case, not always what I feel, and that has very much to do with that difference between what I felt when I left. Failing, leaving, feeling extremely vulnerable, lack of self-confidence, and at the same time what other people saw in me was courage for the decision to leave, and especially afterwards starting to grow my own company. I have received so many compliments also from people after 2.5 years saying, "Eric, we haven't been in touch, but what I've been seeing on social media, what you're doing, I'm so jealous," or similar remarks. So that gives me messages about how I actually either show myself or what people see from me compared to what I feel. And there's sometimes a gap, and that's just me. But what I'm saying is that that's very likely also what's happening around us with other people. When one of your biggest themes of the last years is vulnerability. And I've been thinking about that a lot, being a coach, being educated as a coach since 2 years now, and talking to people from this role. Vulnerability, what are people either feeling, what are they willing and daring to show from these feelings? Are they überhaupt, to use a German word, are they able to talk about it at all? I mean, that's basically my field of coaching. Yeah.
That's beautiful, and it resonates so much with me, right? Because although I'm still in the corporate space, my own version of what you're describing has been, and I think it's funny you talk about this 2.5 years, right? So I'd say I had this, when we were talking previously, I'd call it a midlife awakening, not a midlife crisis. So I was at a point where, had the job title, had the fantastic family, the holidays, everything we're conditioned to believe outside of us is important, right?
Yeah.
I had it all, but I felt literally empty on the inside. So I called it spiritually bankrupt is the phrase that I use for that.
Yeah.
And it's only been the last 2 years, Eric, though, that I've started what I would call a phase of integration. And I see that in you. So you are this trained chemist. You can do sales brilliantly, but you care about holding space and coaching people. It's like there's something about integration for me in how you show up, how people perceive you and how you feel. There's something about integration for me. Does that resonate, or do you build on that or challenge that?
Yeah, I mean, the first moment you used the word integration, I thought I had a feeling for what you meant, but what resonates with me is a very interesting experience 2 years ago. So I was still at a very low level of my self-confidence at the end of 2019, after 20 years of working, and I had already taken the decision to leave because I was not feeling well at all. So the decision to leave was really to take care about my health, my mental health, my health in general, because I wanted to take a rest after 20 years of working, or I needed it actually. It was not so much wanting, but I had taken the decision, and then I decided to go to someone, and I think in English they call it either a medium or somebody who has a spiritual gift. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I saw your face was freezing on my screen, so I thought maybe we lost connection. But no, so in my family there are people who went to this lady already because this lady has certain gifts. I don't know the English words for it, but so she's sort of connected and hypersensitive, and she can help people telling about their lives, what she sees around those people. So for the first time in my life, I decided to go to this person because I was totally out of balance. And I asked 2 questions to her. First, of course, I said to her, I'm actually leaving the corporate world after 20 years. And of course, including my time at university, high school, and I was always a smart kid. So I was always doing what was expected from smart kids, like studying hard and making wise decisions and not doing the crazy stuff like my brother was doing, for example. So after 20 or 30 years of doing what was expected or logical or rational, I said to her, now I'm leaving that area, I'm leaving that world. And I'm doing something completely different. Like I'm going into coaching, breathing coaching, even giving massages. So strong body and mind connection and less rational perhaps. And that's what I told her. And she started smiling, saying, Eric, no, you are not leaving your path. You were already for a very long time on your path where you should be. So now you are doing in a practical way different things. But you will use everything you've learned in the years before, which is, for example, that now in the world of coaching, but especially in the body-mind connection, working with body energy, etc., and human touch, she said, what you learned in the chemical world and about physics and about the fact that everything around us is energy, everything has its vibrations, molecules, electrons, etc. You will use that in a different way, and it might sound a bit, I don't know what the English word is, but a bit spiritual, but that's not how I got it at that moment when she told me. It gave me a lot of certainty, peace of mind, knowing that I was actually still on the same path. And I did not realize that before she told me, but her words really helped me. The second question I had for her was interesting because I said, for many, many years, I have felt rather really allergic for big egos, for people with big egos. And I said, what is it? What is that in me, or what is it that I'm so allergic? And she started smiling and she said, Eric, you know what? The reason is that you are one yourself, but you don't live it. And I was puzzled in the first moment, and then already very quickly pieces of puzzles from my life and from my life experiences felt in the right place. So this meeting with her and these 2 questions and the way she responded to that was really helpful for me at the end of 2019 to start building upon. So when you talk about integration, for me, that meeting was actually very much about integration and solving some question or answering some question marks that I had in my life. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. Like I've already, like my head and the back of my neck is just reacting really significantly.
Yeah.
Because we're now sitting here, right? Thank you for sharing. And I'm now sitting here with you, ex-colleague, friend, on different paths, but I think we're pointing in the same direction, right?
Yeah.
To wholeness, back to that space where there's abundance, where there's freedom. However, you and I both know that the systems of which we're all part today are very unequal. They're very inequitable on a global basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, what's the appetite within your client base? And I know some of them work, I think, within your old industry, the industry I'm still part of.
Yeah.
What's the appetite like? What's the curiosity like now from what I would make a judgment, Eric, in the past, that if I look around the sector, I don't see from the outside looking in many people that are willing to have this type of conversation, this honest, open, vulnerable exploration around our humanity. But maybe there's more than I'm seeing. I'm the person on the outside. Are you seeing people potentially starting to get curious?
There are people curious all the time, and what's interesting is that part of this group, part of these people, don't want others to know that they actually think about these topics or talk about these topics. There are even people, like ex-colleagues, that are not very open about the fact that they are still in touch with me, or they tell me, Eric, I've been following you on social media for 3 years, and secretly I really love what you're doing. So there's different aspects to this. Some people think, who are in touch with me, that what I'm doing is totally different from the past. Truth, apart from the content of my work in the past, is that I'm still the same person and I'm doing very similar things, but now being paid as a coach and being educated as a coach. And in the past I was having similar conversations with the people that were actually very interested in these topics, but then it was just on a personal level, like between you and me, and people did not really need to know about it, or you had a very strong vision in mind already for some years, and I was always a bit confused about that because I was not that far yet. But that's how I see it now. There is more people interested in these topics, but many people don't want others to know because they have a feeling, like I had in the past, that it should not be part of the corporate world, or they are working in a corporate world where these topics are not part of the daily conversation, certainly not when it is about the management culture. So these topics are not usually part of the management culture, at least not in the companies that I have been working in the last 20 years. So for me now, because you're talking about inside and outside, I sort of stepped outside that world partly, and now I get more in touch with people again who are still in that world, as well as in the world that I was in, but also in other companies that I didn't know before. And I meet more and more people that are actually open to these topics, still working in a corporate environment and probably working in a company or in a management culture where there is room for more personal topics, or room for vulnerability, room for emotions perhaps, or at least to talk about them. And of course, at the same time, I hear still a lot of complaints about people who don't feel safe enough to really show their doubts, their fears, their anxieties. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that's really interesting for me, and I'm really loving this. It's why I was so keen to get you on, Eric, because we both work together. I'm still in, but also care about these topics. You're now out and care about these topics. There's a beautiful wholeness about this conversation, right? Yeah. And I'm sitting here going, what do you think as Eric? What is it what's going on for people that they either feel they have to hide that curiosity, stuff it down somewhere? What's going on for them? What do you think's going on either within them or around them that they feel they cannot express fully?
I think, I could answer it in several ways. One thing that pops up in my mind right now is that what I see in my coaching practice is that many of us have been conditioned since we were a kid, based upon the former generation, our parents usually, but also in schools, teachers, coaches, in sports, etc., to achieve, to get to strive towards goals, but not so much to talk about your fears, your anxieties, your doubts. And not only that, I'm mentioning doubts, fears, and anxieties, but even something simple like giving somebody a compliment. Giving a compliment that's how I experienced it over the last years, is sometimes seen as strange or weak, instead of empowering. So the very first time that I gave a compliment in one of the companies that I worked for in the last years, I gave a compliment in a meeting with 10 people or 8 people, including a manager. And I gave a compliment to one person in group, which could be very nice, but 90% of the group had really strange eyes that I was actually giving a compliment, and I got remarks, like negative feedback on it, that or maybe question marks, why are you doing it? People were not used to that. So, but what I'm saying as an answer to your question is that we are all conditioned. So we all have our own patterns based, and that's what I see in my coaching practice, and that's what I do as a coach to help people find out why their patterns, their daily patterns, their behavioral patterns are actually like they are, especially the patterns that are standing in the way of leading the life that they want to, or some people are aware that they want to change one or two patterns that don't support them or don't serve them well. That's what I do as a coach. And then we go into, where does your pattern come from? How does it help you now? How has it helped you? And why do you want to change it? What do you want to go for now? And then usually it comes back to fears, old fears, very old fears based upon things from either the past or sometimes trauma, but not necessarily. To give you a daily example, what happened to me is that I had a very strong colleague in the past that I was working closely with, like in the Netherlands, a very, very strong colleague by character. I wanted to say I respected her, but it's more like I was a bit jealous to her strength, mental strength. And one day I asked the question, what is it with you that you are so strong by character, that you have such huge courage? That's how I see it. Mm-hmm. Criticizing people or asking critical questions, giving critical feedback, even to management. And she said to me, Eric, you know what? This is not how I was born. Because that is sometimes the picture I have from people, and especially when I get jealous, like my brother, for example. I always thought he was born like a very stubborn, very strong character, and I could be jealous of him being so strong. And I've always felt quite small. I was born very shy. Yeah, that's the word, shy. So I've always been very shy my whole youth, until the age of 18 at least. So I can easily feel small. This colleague, I asked her, what makes you so strong? And she said, Eric, I was bullied my whole teenage years, like for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And that, it gave me a lot of information. It shocked me, it surprised me, but it also helped me understand that, and that's what I said earlier, what we see around us of behavior or characters of people is not always what it seems like. So I saw a strong character, and yes, that's what she shows, but in the end there is also fear or trauma, or, like I said, a pattern based upon earlier behavior or earlier experiences. And that's what I find now in my coaching practice every time. And what makes me think, hey, your big question in this session is what's on your mind? And what's on my mind now since I started my practice is, if all of us, and also in the working environment, if we would know 10% more of each other's fears, doubts, anxieties, it would change the world. It would change the world. And I know, at least for me, saying such a thing, it would change the world. The words are way too big. But if you look at it in a very small space, like in a team, in a team of colleagues working with each other, with one or two managers, if in such a team we would know 10% more of each other's fears, anxieties, doubts, uncertainties, it would change the culture in that team. And I think if it is about the corporate environment, that's my mission. What I do, I coach. What I say, the shortest way of telling others what I do is I coach thinkers towards feeling. So I coach rational, very analytical people, like I used to be myself all those years, achieving goals, working hard, being smart, being seen as smart. I coach rational and analytical people towards connection with their emotions, their feelings, their anxieties, and perhaps if they want, and that's usually why they come to me, changing one or two patterns that don't serve them, that don't bring them to their wished life, basically. Again, that's quite big words, but that's what I do.
What I love, Eric, is how you bring to life your messages with a story, with an example, very personal. And that for me is the role modeling that you're speaking about, right? Because I feel, personally as Gary, like I was also bullied. So that story you shared, yeah, I was bullied repeatedly to age 12, age 13, and I suppressed emotion for well over 25 years, right? Because I didn't have the emotional, what I call, I didn't have the emotional literacy. I didn't know how to say I'm in pain or I'm scared. Because they're just not words I felt safe to use, right?
Yeah.
For over 25 years. And it's really fascinating when I look around the corporate workplace or I look at political landscape, I literally see a lot of scared 8-year-olds running companies, running governments, leading teams.
Yeah.
And I think your work is so important, Eric, because I love that message of if we can just know 10% more of our humanity. I'm changing fears, anxieties to humanity. If we can just know 10% more of the true whole one another,
Yeah.
I agree. I think it would change the world because I believe personally that vulnerability, that ability to show a bit more of ourselves, it's what I call a gateway behavior. It opens everything up. Everything opens through that for me.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and I like the words that you choose to point out to some things that I have different words for. I like it because it's a very positive way of looking at it, and I like what you said about the 8-year-olds running departments, running companies, etc. That's exactly how it is. And I mean, I remember I don't know when it was, but I was still quite young, and I saw. I had difficulty, like I said, with big egos, but I have difficulty with arrogant people. And long time ago already, I learned that for the majority, at least, of the arrogant people, they don't feel arrogant themselves, but they are very insecure. So what they show is actually the wall to protect their lack of their inner boy or girl. So that's what I learned already a long time ago, and now in my work I also learned even more than before that we can't change people. So I cannot change someone unless the person asks support to be, not to be changed, but to change. So, and that's what I'm doing as a coach. So it doesn't help if managers send people to me and saying, hey, this colleague of mine in my team, he or she needs to change. It doesn't work. Same in my marriage. I mean, I can't change my wife. She's totally different than I am. And yes, that has given a lot of problems over the last years, but I can't change her. No, I can only change myself, and even that's very difficult. And I help, as a coach, I help people who are actually aware of the need for change, sometimes small, sometimes big. And I can't help people that come to me as a coach and say, Eric, my partner really needs to change. What can I do? No, that's not what I'm doing as a coach. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So beautiful. I want to, as we go into the last few minutes, Eric, I just want to acknowledge you and say honestly, I really appreciate and respect, and honestly, you've inspired me in part, because I think what you're doing is showing, you're modeling for me, that you can understand, be part of a corporate ecosystem as it is, and you can reimagine your role within that. You don't have to keep conforming. You don't have to keep being conditioned. You have a choice in all of this, and I think that choice, if I look around my networks, far too many people still don't believe they have a choice.
True. Yeah, and some people, they don't want to make, or they don't dare to make the choice. Even recently, I spoke to an ex-colleague of mine, still a colleague of yours in the UK team, and she said, Eric, you don't know how many people in our UK team that know you from the past actually found it so brave, so courageous what you did. And that gave me the goosebumps again. It was not the first time I heard it, because I had heard it in the Netherlands, but I had never heard it from somebody from the UK team that strongly, that message. So yes, it is about knowing that you have a choice. And like I said, some people know they have a choice, but they don't think they have the luxury to do it, or they don't have the money, like the money, the financial basics to make a new decision. Mm-hmm. So that's the well-known golden cage. Some people have a good job, good salary, nice. I had a beautiful lease car, a phone paid by the company, etc., etc., etc. Nice traveling, but especially a good salary. So this golden cage is for many people a reason to not change and to just accept, and be frustrated sometimes what they have. And also that's coachable. I mean, I can coach those people towards real acceptance, because if they really accept what is and what they have, then there is no issue. But the issue is, of course, that people get frustrated and they struggle with their frustrations for a long time and not really accept them. So that's another option.
God, you're opening up part 2 of this conversation, Eric. I would love.
Yeah, we shouldn't do that now, is it?
But that acceptance piece, I think, is a beautiful another gateway. So I spoke about vulnerability being a gateway, but I think acceptance is another gateway to so much potential.
Yeah.
And I would love to get you back on to discuss that one at some point. Really, I think that's
we
another,
do that. We will.
That's another amazing topic.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. I would love to do that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, cool.
So leave our listeners, viewers, people watching or listening back, Eric, just remind people again, if they've got this far, which I'm sure they will have done, it's a stunning conversation. How can people get hold of you? What's coming up? Is there any sort of workshops? Is there any sort of other in-person events that you're doing? Give us a little bit of an update as to what Eric's working on at the moment.
Yeah, what I started with like more than half a year ago to integrate in my calendar is that I give breathing workshops, not online, so not abroad, but in the Netherlands. I give breathing workshops every month, once a month. The dates can be found on my website. I also give the cold dip ice bath workshops every month, indoor in the Netherlands, in Rijswijk, like the Wim Hof style. And I remember that you actually brought me into contact with one of your other friends who does that as well in the south of the Netherlands. Very interesting. Yes. So that's what I do. And then in general, I coach people. I give breathing coaching, individual session breathing coaching. People can always make bookings for that or contact me about it. And in the future, I haven't planned it yet, I haven't scheduled anything yet, I will also give this breathing coaching and maybe even breathing workshops online, but that's not ready yet. So that's what I do. Something totally, completely different, but very exciting what I do is that I'm actually an expedition leader, or what is it? I don't know the English word, so let's call it an expedition leader for a marathon, like a running wow. Trip. So 2 friends of mine actually have a company and we go in 2 days. Yes, this Thursday. So in 3 days, we actually fly to Spitsbergen, like very close to the North Pole, for 4 days. And I will be the expedition leader, helping 170 runners who will do the marathon or the half marathon. To be in the right place at the right time. We do beautiful excursions. That's something else I do. And on that location, on Spitsbergen, where there is like beautiful nothing, like nature, but only snow and ice and pure water and no trees, no nothing, no bushes, no nothing. I will actually host this cold dip ice bath experience in the Barents Sea or in one of the fjords. So that's what I'm going to do this week, end of this week as well. So that's another exciting thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, look, all the very best for everything you're doing. Keep in touch, my friend, and let's definitely get round 2 around acceptance put in the diary. And just really appreciate you, my friend, and keep shining. Keep showing.
Thanks a lot, Gary. Thanks for this opportunity. Thanks for having me, and I wish you a great day. And let's talk soon again.
We definitely will. And thanks everybody for joining us. If you watch this live or watch this back, do check out Eric's website, popping it on the screen again, and have a great week ahead, everyone. Cheers, Eric, and cheers, everyone.